Happy, happy New Year, everybody. Oh man.
Happy 2023.
Happy
Wow.
2023 and welcome to our Wealth Builders webinar. Come on in. I
Our
see a lot
first
of
one, our
people. Our
first
first one
one
for the
for the
year.
new year, for the
Our
brand new year.
Man, I'm telling you, all of you who have joined this website are starting the year right.
Come on, you're
This is
starting with a bang.
this is how you start the year. And hey, if you can hear us, please say something in the chat section so we can give you a shout out. Happy New Year once
Yeah.
again. Happy New Year. Who can we see? I see Cliff.
Yeah, and please,
I
of
see
course,
Fadzai. I
don't forget to
see.
tell us where you are watching and joining
Yes,
us from.
Mignonette, watching from Los Angeles,
Hey, that's
California.
awesome.
Julie Ambonge, good evening. And also Yolandi
From
Kruger
Bloemfontein.
from Bloemfontein.
That's awesome.
Welcome, welcome. Let us know where you're watching from and let us know if
Absolutely.
you can hear us loud and clear. This is 2023, man. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. What are
I'm
you
ex
excited about?
I'm excited because, I know that as children of God, our life is meant to get better. The Bible says we move from one level of glory to another. It says that the path of the righteous keeps getting brighter and brighter until the
Come
brightness
on,
of
come
noon of
on,
day,
come
right?
on.
And so we know that our life gets better with time. And so I get excited every time I get older, every
Yeah.
time the year turns and we get into a new year. It just means, hey, there is so much light at the end of the
Amen.
tunnel.
Absolutely. That's
What are,
exciting.
what are you excited about?
I'm just excited for a brand new year, brand new opportunities, brand new possibilities. And it's just an exciting time. And it's an exciting time to just reflect about the things that, God wants to do in and through us in this brand new year.
Amen. George said he's dialing in from the government of
That's
Zambia.
awesome.
And I saw someone else
That's
there
awesome.
who said,
Peter.
Peter?
Peter from Nairobi, Kenya.
Peter from Nairobi, Kenya. Welcome, Peter.
This is
Oh man,
exciting.
this
We've
is
got we've
exciting.
got Dan Zulu from Harare and then
Dan,
Bruce Moyo from Namibia. Wow.
Namibia, Harare. Man, it's like the
Wow.
entire continent.
This
We've
is
got East Africa,
awesome.
we've got West Africa, we've got Southern Africa represented, and this is awesome. This is
And
exciting. And
almost
so,
every single province of South Africa as well. I see some
yes.
Pretoria there. I see someone joining from East Rand, Moses Mtetwa. This is really exciting.
It's
Welcome.
exciting. And so,
Welcome, welcome,
welcome, guys.
welcome.
Without further ado, we're going to jump into it. We have a few housekeeping things that we want to
Yes,
touch on.
absolutely.
And would you like to lead us on
Yeah,
that before we introduce
absolutely.
our speaker for tonight?
Absolutely. First and foremost, before we begin, you just want to tell your world about this webinar, right? So if you haven't told your friends yet, just drop them a quick WhatsApp, a quick message, and let them know. We haven't started yet, okay? So share, share, share. Be sure to share the link. Be sure to tell them to register now. Okay. And most importantly, we will be sure to send you an email with a copy of this webinar video as well as the slides. So please make sure we've got your email address, but we will be sending you an email with a copy of this video. And of course, please be sure to check out our website. That's
Yes.
wealthbuilders.org/Africa. Man, you could find out more information about many more upcoming webinars because there's so many more to come. This
Come
isn't the
on.
last one. There are many more to come, okay? But most importantly, you'll be sure to check out the details about our first ever Wealth Builders Africa conference, which will be happening in June. So please, write that down, put it down somewhere. I'm sure someone will put it in the chat. That's wealthbuilders.org/Africa. Be sure to check out the page and keep updated, keep yourself updated. Also, you can be sure to, I think you'll also be able to check out other previous webinars as well. And then I think the final announcement is the big Wealth Builders Conference.
Come on. In Africa.
No, not in Africa, the
Oh,
big one.
that's coming up next
That's
month.
coming up next month. And
Yes.
we are so blessed because there is a live streaming option. So
Yeah.
you absolutely want to take advantage of that. It's coming up next month, February 17th to the 19th. And man, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. It's going to be life changing. It's going to help you in your business, help you in whatever God has called you to do. So please go to, I believe it's
.org.
wealthbuilders.org.
Yeah.
Okay. And And make sure you sign up for the live stream option. I see we've got some people joining us from the US of A. You might want to be there physically as well. So it's
Yes.
not too late to register and be there in person.
We
But
are
for
going to be
those,
there
yeah,
in
we're going to be
person.
there
We're
in
going to be there in
person.
person. So, yeah, we would love to
We'd love
meet
to
some
see
of
you.
you and say hello.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's it for the announcements.
Yes, and man, tonight we have a special teaching for you, and man, I believe that this is going to be a blessing to you. We're going to be looking at the business. I need to read it. I need to go find it somewhere. No, not there. I don't want to mess it up. The business model canvas, and so this is going to teach you how to form a business plan. That's going to help you, get buy in and get shareholders and get people to get on board with you, because you can't do anything alone. You need the support of others. And so to do that tonight, man, we are just so privileged. We're going to be hearing from our own vice president, our own VP here at Wealth Builders, and tonight we'll be hearing from Karen Conrad Metcalf. And so Karen, we're turning it over to you.
Yay.
Great. Thank you so much, Pastor Tafara and Chippo. And hello, everybody. We are so blessed that you joined us tonight. And I've got a teaching that I think is going to be really helpful for you. And it's focused on business. And it's actually what the whole model of Charis Bible College Business School is built on. And it's called the Business Model Canvas. If I was to explain it to you, just, in a few words, it is a business plan on one page. And anytime that we look at a business, anytime we work with businesses to help them either start a business or grow their business, we always use this tool, the Business Model Canvas. Now, there's a lot to it, and we'll be covering much more of this in the following webinars and definitely at the conference that we are excited to come to you in Africa the first week of June. I'm going to share some things with you from a marketing perspective with the Business Model Canvas. We all know that for us to grow, we want to be effective in our marketing. And there's some things that we can do to manage our money that we're spending on marketing, but also increase the effectiveness. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And it's using the Business Model Canvas in marketing. All right, so let's give you a little insight here into what the Business Model Canvas is. This is like literally the one page, and our amazing Wealth Builders team, as they send this follow-up email out to you with the video, they're going to include this Business Model Canvas for you so that you can use this in your own business. And this is a template that we use consistently in the business school. And as you can see, there are 9 sections. And in this session, we're going to be focusing on the ones that we use in marketing. So I use all of them in marketing, but we're going to be focusing on the value proposition, customer relationships, and we will touch on channels, revenue streams, customer segments. And if we have time, we'll talk a little bit about key partners and key activities as well. So we're going to reference a marketing plan, how the Business Model Canvas relates to it. The value proposition, when we sit down with an organization, I actually just did this week because we had our business coaching training that we do that we'll be bringing over to you as well. The place that we start on the canvas is the value proposition. This is a statement that you use internally, and parts of it you'll use in marketing as well, but it really defines your business and how you set yourself apart from other businesses. One of the things that Pastor Tafara talked about last time that we'll be sharing in an upcoming webinar is something called the Blue Ocean Strategy. And that's a way for us to be able to find that niche in the market that may be in a crowded market space of things, or maybe a lot of people are selling it or a lot of people are offering the business. But when you narrow your benefit statement down to what you do well, you would think that it would almost reduce the number of clients that you would attract or people to buy your goods and services. But actually, the more refined and defined you are in explaining who your customer is, what you offer, and how you set yourself apart, it expands your business. There's a lot of examples of this. One of them in the United States, we have an insurance company that is called USAA. And USAA is, they do insurance, they do mortgages, they do all sorts of services, and their focus, their value proposition, their target market is people in the military. And when you understand who it is that you are targeting or who your services and products fit the best, and you start to gear your messaging and your benefit statements towards them, you actually stand out in the crowd. And that's what they do. They built all their systems based on the military, and their retention rate, their business is through the roof. It's so strong. So what specifically is a value proposition? It's defined as this. It is a key message to communicating the benefit of our business, organization, or product. Take time to get this right, as much will springboard from this important statement. And we actually have a way to help you to, with you or with your team, to actually find that value proposition. So in this slide, I'm going to be sharing with you some questions to answer that will help you to find out what this value proposition is. First of all, the question to be answered is, what value do we deliver to the customer? That sounds really simple, but I'm surprised, a lot of times in conversations and even in my own business, I'm not really clear enough on that to be able to articulate it. And so when we ask that question, what value do we deliver to the customer? It gives you a basis of why your business or organization exists. Another question is, which one of our customers' problems are we helping to solve? That's really helpful too, because most successful businesses are birthed from solving a problem. And this gets into the part of your relationship and experience with the Lord as well, because that's a question that you can ask the Lord. Like, what are the problems out there, Lord, that you want me to help solve? And when we're focused on that and helping other people, that is a way for us to know that we are not only meeting the needs of people the way that God would want us to, but it is that pathway to prosperity in our business too, because we're taking time to think about what we're providing that is going to either meet or create a need for people that they didn't even know that they have. And then the next one is, which customer needs are we satisfying? So for example, one of the businesses that I have is something called a home staging business in real estate. And when I was getting into this, I knew that I was called of God to do what's a home staging business. And let me explain what that is. It's in real estate. And when a house is for sale, it's going in and bringing in furniture or moving around furniture, neatening things up to really increase the appeal of the property. And I did a lot of research on it, knowing that when houses were staged, they sold 50% faster. They increased the return on it from 7 to 10% on average. And it just helped to make it appealing, because most people purchase real estate online. So in that, I had to ask these questions. There's a lot of home staging companies out there, but what value do I deliver to the customer? And in the case of the customer being the person selling the home, the value that I bring to them is that they are going to sell their home faster for a higher price. That's really important, right? When we're trying to sell something, and that can work in a store. I've gone in and staged retail stores. It can, conferences, it increases sales in conferences. Staging is really something that you can apply in many areas. But the next one that I had to answer, which one of our customers' problems are we helping to solve? Well, if it is the homeowner, the problems that I solved oftentimes was someone was trying to sell their home and it's been on the market 3 to 5 months and it wasn't selling. So I could come in and solve the problem of them not being able to move to the next place they're called to, or maybe they have so much holding costs in holding that property. But also what I realized is there's another customer segment in that called the real estate agent. And that real estate agent is the person that would connect me to my client. And I'll talk more about this in customer segments. And so what I could help bring value to that customer segment in the transaction was I could help them be more successful as a real estate agent. And then which customer needs are we satisfying, of course, is very important as well. All right. The next one is, how is the value proposition used in your marketing plan? Well, when we look at customer segments, which I touched on, it's important to define who your customer is. So let's talk about that. A customer segment is a group of people or organizations that we target to reach and serve with our product or our service. Companies, businesses should make a conscious decision as to which segments to serve and which ones to ignore so that we can focus on meeting the needs of our target customers. So what I want to share with you here is that a lot of times we think everybody is my customer, but that's not the case. And that's why it's important that we take time and say, well, who is exactly my target customer or my target segment? It's not everybody in my community. It's not everybody in my nation. But if I know who I am and what value I'm bringing, you're able to hit the target with who you are trying to bring in to do business with you. Customer segments are often distinguished by common needs, common behaviors, common beliefs, and more. So let me use an example like with Wealth Builders. Here we are with Pastor Tafara and Chippo. And what we realized is that we have got common needs with the people that we're connected with. We have common behaviors with people, common beliefs, and more. So when you find somebody like that with Wealth Builders, we know that the customer segment and why we came together with Pastor Tafari and Chippo is we want to empower people to be able to be entrepreneurs, successful business people, to build wealth, not only for today, but really change the whole trajectory of our families for generations. Amen. And we do that based on the common belief, the common values, that it's focused on the Word of God. And so instead of trying to help everybody in Africa that wants to be an entrepreneur, we know that our customer segment in this situation is people like you that love God, that know that if they align their life with the purpose of God and they get the how-tos on how to do their business, they are going to be successful in what God has called them to do. So when looking at your customer segment, I'll just use some examples of businesses because I think that's very helpful. Let's just say that I am somebody that is selling handbags or purses, okay? And I want to sell as many purses as possible. So maybe there's something in that design that is special. And let's just think about that. For whom am I creating value? If I'm making beautiful crocheted purses, I want to think about, who am I making this beautiful purse for? And that helps you to say, you know what, I'm making this maybe for women that are busy. They've got a child on this hip, a child on this hip, that's how moms are. So we want to create a purse that maybe goes across their neck and is something that it can get bumped around and hold their things that are necessary, but maybe they have an active lifestyle. So we don't want a big purse, right? We don't want something that they have to carry with a handle. And I know that sounds really particular, but these are the conversations that we need to have when we're creating a product or a service. Or maybe you're starting a juice bar and you have a heart that you want to help people to be healthy. Well, who are you creating value for? You're creating value for people that have a desire to be healthy, or they want a quick way to maybe have, something that's going to give them nourishment. So then what helps with you there too is to consider, where are these people? Are these people that are in the workplace? Are these people that maybe are going to a gym and working out? Who are these people? And you start to think about even the location. So those are examples of things that we ask the question of to figure out where and who our customer segment is. Another question is, who are our most important customers and why are they important? This is very important to understand as well, because maybe there is a part of a customer segment that would be valuable for you, but they're not the main people that you are serving. So one of the conversations I had on Monday actually regarding this is we are working with an organization that's called Furnishing Families. And this is Annabelle Walno. I don't know if any of you know Lance Walno, but it's his wife, and she's got this really wonderful nonprofit. And what they do is they actually furnish apartments and homes for single moms that are in crisis, maybe in transition, they're in need. Oftentimes in that situation, they don't even have a bed. The children are sleeping on doors or on the floor. And so what they do is they come in and help those single moms. They bring them new beds, they bring them furniture. So it goes from an empty apartment to a furnished home. And one of the discussions that we had is, okay, the value proposition or our main target market is single moms, but does that mean that we can, never serve a family where there's a mom and dad that are married? And it's like, no, that's not the case at all. But our most important or our main focus is single moms. And that helps with clarification because we know the agencies to connect with that serve single moms. It connects the dots even in the marketing and the images where you can communicate your main customer segment, the main people that you are going to serve. Okay, so how are customer segments actually used in what would be a marketing plan? And that is the next space that we go to, which is called customer relationships. So I'm going to recap this for you a little bit just to make sure that we're kind of following through. And then as you look at the BMGC, you're going to actually be able to fill in information on your business there. And some of you might say, Karen, I don't have a business yet. I want a business. Well, that is fabulous because this is the time for you to begin to fill out that BMGC is before you have established your business so you can get really clear on these. So we've talked about the value proposition, which answers the question, really, why do we exist? And so you state in there that you offer what product or service you offer, to whom, right, which is your customer segment. And you even compare yourself to competition internally and say, how am I different than my competition? And then you position yourself in the price that you're going to offer. So we talked about value proposition. We talked about customer segments, which is who I'm going to actually serve, right? And we named those. And customer relationships are defined as the type of relationship a company establishes within those segments. Now, I know this sounds like it's getting a little bit technical, but I'm going to explain it in a way that I think will really connect the dots. So if my target market, like I was explaining to you with Furnishing Families, is single moms, okay? And we say, let's look at this target market. What value do we bring? We bring, with dignity, we bring furniture, we bring beds, whatever that might be, to turn a house into a home. But this answers the question, like, what does that customer segment expect from me? And that helps define how you're going to serve them, how you're going to communicate with them. Because if we don't understand what our customers are expecting from us, we're not going to be able to serve them in a way that is going to bring us continual business. So this area of the canvas is at times overlooked, but it is very important as the customer relationship shows us how our brand, our business will be seen by customers, and it's what most influences their behavior. All right, so customer relationships. Here are some questions that you want to answer in this section. What type of relationship does each of our customer segments expect us to establish and maintain with them? So let me go back to the example of furnishing families. One of their customer segments is the single mom and family that they deliver furniture. But when you have a nonprofit, what are you dependent on for income? The people that are receiving that furniture don't have the ability to pay. So in this situation, Furnishing Families is dependent on donors to help fund the ministry. So when you think about customer segments and these customer relationships, the customer segment of single moms and families is expecting furniture. They're expected to, be treated well. They're expected to see the love of God because that's what we explain that we do. But when I look at the donors, do the donors expect me to go to their home and put in mattresses and furniture? No, but are they an important part? Can I do my business without them? No. And so they're a very important customer segment, but what they're going to expect from me is not a couch and not a bed. They're going to expect from me to be able to show them what their donation is doing. So to answer this question in that one is like, what type of relationship would they expect to establish and for me to maintain with my donors? They would want communication. They would expect me to give them a receipt when they make a donation and thank them for it. They would expect me to keep them up to date on all the lives that are being changed in the ministry with their money. They would expect me to be a good steward. So you see, it's the same business, but it's very different expectations based on the different customer segments. Now, because this actually took me a while to like get my head around, so I'm going to give you another example that you can build on that will help you to relate how this works for you. So this, if I'm bringing you back to my home staging business, the customer segments I was talking about there is the person selling the home, and they would expect me to come in and to stage their home, to be courteous to them when I'm in their home, and to help it look beautiful so that they can move on in their life and get their house sold. And that's awesome. Now, a real estate agent, which is where I get my business, so it's very important that I recognize them as a customer segment, they would expect me to keep to my pricing, right? So that they don't have surprises. They would expect me when I tell them that I'm going to be there to stage a home to show up. And then you start to find out what are other needs that they have. And one of them that I learned through that process is that the way that things were set up for most of the home stagers, they were actually penalized for doing a bad job. Okay, so what I say is you find the win-win. So in that situation, setting up pricing that actually gives people a benefit if I sell it in the short period of time, I'm meeting their expectation. But if it takes 6 months, I don't want to charge them more. So in that case, you come and you find a pricing structure that is going to help that real estate agent convince their client to bring a home stager in. Why is that important for a real estate agent? Because in the United States, if a house does not close or sell, that real estate agent doesn't get paid. Okay, so that's just a very important conversation to have to understand how your customer segments and what they want from you. Another thing is you want to determine which relationships out there have been established and which ones do we need to establish. And that goes back to the customer segments and defining those relationships. How are these customer relationships integrated with the rest of our business model? How do they relate to revenue streams, which we'll cover on another segment of the BMGC? How do they relate to the key activities of our people? And how costly are they? And is there an appropriate ROI, which is a return on investment? So these are all questions that will help you in defining those customer relationships. Okay, so now I'm going to go into briefly with the time left here, cover what we call channels, and I'll be able to touch on revenue streams. What are channels? Channels are the method in which value is delivered to those customer segments, those target markets. Channels are really important as we have to think about how to deliver our product in a way that our customer segments expect, and in some cases demand. Channels can add value in supporting your customer relationships, and understanding your customer segments and customer relationships will help you determine what channels are best to deliver the value desired to customers. So you say, okay, Karen, what does that mean? Well, let me go back to giving you some examples. Channels are where we might distribute our product. One of the examples I want to share with you that we went through here in the United States, and you probably did in Africa as well, is during COVID, the channels that restaurants were used to delivering their services of food, where we would go in and sit down in a restaurant, okay? But here, and you probably experienced this too, they shut restaurants, in-person restaurants, down for a period of time, meaning that the only channel that most of them were actually delivering their product and service to was gone. It was shut down. So some restaurants just closed their doors. Other restaurants knew the importance of creating a channel that we're talking about here, and they started putting their thinking caps on, and they said, okay, here's what we can do. We will up our pickup so that, people can order food because they can't come into the regular restaurant, and we will bring it out to them to their car, and then they can take it home and eat it. And that's great. So that's an additional channel that a restaurant had. And then a lot of people, and this is where they really were able to stay in business, they connected with people to deliver the food to people directly and leave it at their front door. So there was no, they didn't break the social distance or whatever that was. Well, in that case, if restaurants didn't think through additional channels, they would shut down. They would not exist, and many people closed their doors. Another thing to think about too is if we're selling a product or service, and maybe people are used to coming in the store for that, and all at once we realize, wow, people aren't coming into the store. We would say, am I delivering the opportunity for people to purchase my goods and services in a way that they're demanding? So another channel in that situation would be to create an online store so that people were able to actually order the products online and either come in and pick them up or have them delivered. So Amazon is a company that we all know about. They've been extremely, extremely profitable because they have focused on a channel of delivery that is starting and has been a demand that people have had. So the products and services that they sell are not unique to other places or stores, but the way that they deliver the product or service is unique, and they've built an entire business on it. So I think there's some of you that are watching this that just finding a channel of delivery could be your entire business, right? To do it differently than other people. So it's really important that we think through this of how we're going to deliver. Now, another example that I want to share with you, and you've heard of this company too, is Starbucks, just how they have thought through this process. So if we just take Starbucks and we just go through and say, okay, what's their value proposition? Well, they actually created coffee that we didn't even know we needed. When I grew up, we paid 25 cents in America for a cup of coffee. It's just a black cup of coffee, right? Well, they came out with a product where we've got milk, we've got, we've got sweeteners, we've got flavoring, we've got froth. It's just a whole level of coffee that we didn't know existed. And they're serving people maybe at a higher level, because instead of 25 cents for a coffee, it's what we call as $5 a coffee. So their value proposition was really based on bringing a whole nother level of coffee in, but their channel of delivery is what created a lot of their value. So they create these buildings that are all designed similarly. You go in, you have personal service, you create the drink, you tell them what you want, but they have created a channel in their buildings with a culture and atmosphere focused mostly on business people that are comforting for people. So while other coffee might taste better, where people focus on Starbucks for the most part is to get the experience of going into their store. So that's called a channel. And they know their customer segment is people that certainly can afford that expensive coffee, but maybe are more those business people. And the customer relationship is they expect to order a drink, have it the same, whether they're in South Africa or in the United States. Consistency, being able to give them, I want 2 shots of espresso, I want whipped cream on. And then after they perfected that, they started to look at how to expand their channel of delivery. And they did it in many ways, but I'm going to share with you a couple. So they got their core business model and value proposition put together. They defined the things that we've talked about. And then they started looking at how else can we get this out there? And all at once in Target stores and in grocery stores, they started to pop up these small Starbucks. Well, who does that serve? You know what? They went after a new customer segment of moms, right, that are in those stores shopping, where they probably couldn't bring their kids to a Starbucks because they'd be running all over and they wouldn't be, they don't have the McDonald's things to slides and things to go on, but they were able to create a Starbucks in a store to serve a new customer segment in the space that they already are. So in the United States, we have Target stores, and if you go in there, it's a lot of moms with kids. They're able to walk in, get their Starbucks and shop, and the same thing with grocery shopping. So that's just a very quick scenario taking you from start to finish on how important the channels are. So here's some questions to answer when you think about the channels of delivery. How am I reaching my customers now? How are we hearing they want to reach us? And if you ask your employees, they'll be able to tell you, what are people asking for? How are our channels integrated? How do they mesh together? Which ones are most effective for distribution? What opportunities do we have for lower cost channels? And how are we integrating them with customer routines? Okay, I know this is a lot. I'm just giving you an overview, but this is where we go in much deeper with the things that we're going to be bringing to you with Wealth Builders. We're actually able to help walk you through the start and the growth of your business. All right, so how are those channels used in the marketing plan? Again, it's going after the right customer segment and explaining to them where we're located, how they can get our product, and having it in a place that the people that we're going after or attracted to our business are easily able to access. All right, I'm going to introduce revenue streams here real quick, and then we're going to get to questions. I think we've got a lot of questions that are out there. So a revenue stream is monetizing the value proposition through sales of your product or service. And there are 4 notable types of revenue for consideration. Now, this is really what I would say is the secret sauce of this discussion, because if we don't have revenue, we don't have a business. If we don't have revenue, we really don't even have a ministry. Revenue is a critical component to anything that you and I build, okay? So the first type of revenue is recurring revenue. This revenue is a more predictable type of revenue, and it means the business has reasonable assurance that the revenue will occur at regular intervals. I was just on a call right before this webinar where we were talking about the importance of a ministry or a nonprofit having what we call partners or monthly donors. That's something that we can build on. If we know that we've got monthly partners coming in and they've committed a certain amount, we can actually make plans on how to run our business going forward, because the business has what I call a paycheck. Another example of recurring revenue is somebody that offers a subscription service. For example, if I offer a service of maybe an online type university or an online like Wealth Builders University is something that we have. And there's an amount that comes in monthly or on an annual basis that we know is coming in because it's from a subscription. And that is an important type again of recurring revenue. Now, some of us have got businesses where that's not easily seen, like the home staging business. You think, okay, wow, okay, I'm going in and out of a house. That's not really recurring revenue. However, if while I'm in that house, I think of a way to create a revenue stream by taking before and afters, by putting together a training module, by putting together a book based on my business, and I have that out there, that is more of a recurring revenue stream. Or people that want to learn about staging and they sign up monthly to learn about it online. I can create recurring revenue in any business that I'm in. Then next is transaction based, and that's a revenue earned by a transaction from a customer. So if you own a store, someone comes in, they buy a purse and they leave. That's a transaction based revenue, very important. Another one is a project revenue. This is revenue from a one-time project. So let's just say that you've got some service that you offer and you decide to put on a conference for people to come and learn about it. You're not doing that every day. You're not doing it every week, but it's maybe a once a year project that you're able to get revenue from. And then finally, there's service revenue. And this is a revenue stream that sells your time. It is unique in that generally it's not as desirable because you want to create revenue streams that you're not going to have to spend a lot of time and effort on your part looking at, but it is something to consider. Let me give you a quick example of that. If I go in and I buy a car, okay, or I buy a bicycle, or I even buy maybe an appliance like a coffee maker, what they offer us is a service package for an additional amount. And what they're saying is that when you buy this product or service or this car, if you pay me this additional amount, they're committing to, if anything goes wrong with that product or service, they are going to service that and take care of it and fix it. Okay, so it is a great way to add an additional revenue stream for your business. But if you've got a product or service where there is a lot going wrong, there is a risk there in that you could end up spending more time servicing what you sold than the revenue that you generated on the front end. So, wow, this has just been a lot of information, but I hope that it's been a great introduction to the BMGC and giving you some things that's going to help you going forward in starting to get that one-page business plan formulated. And so with that, I'm going to turn it back to you, Pastor Tafara and Chippo, and then I'm going to start to take a look at some of the questions that are coming in.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Karen. That was really insightful. A lot to learn right there.
Absolutely.
And man,
wow.
we really enjoyed that.
Wow.
Like we always do. And everyone, I trust that you also really enjoyed that. We're seeing a lot of comments from all of you. And we saw a few questions.
So you can put questions
but
for
you
those
can
that
also
have joined us a little bit later.
Yeah, you can also put questions, especially about the presentation tonight. But we also just want to remind you that you will be able to look at the slides. They're going to send them to you, I think tomorrow morning. So you please check your email, Wealth Builders. We're going to send the slides through to you, and you'll also be able to get a copy of this teaching tonight. And so you can go through it over and over again. And so if there are any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat section, also in the Q&A
section,
and we'll look at them tonight. But thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions so far?
Yeah, we've got a couple that have come in on this, and it's a great question. This is from Gift. I think that's a right way to pronounce your name. So thank you so much for being a part of this webinar. And the question is, apart from capacity building, how best are you helping upcoming entrepreneurs, especially those found in Africa? So I'm going to ask you guys to answer it from your perspective, and then I'll also give some thoughts on that question.
Yeah, so I think thanks to Billy and Miss Becky, they are already doing a lot of initiatives on the continent of Africa on the ground. And they run a microfinance bank in Uganda called Tricod Global, under the Tricod Global umbrella. So that's one of the practical ways that Wealth Builders is helping entrepreneurs on the ground. But beyond that, I believe that the greatest need for the continent of Africa is capacity building. Webinars like tonight, intellectual capacity, just growing that so that we are able to approach this with the intensity and also with freedom, knowing that it is God's will for us to build wealth so that we can make a difference. And so a lot is happening, but there's a lot more that's also going to be happening in the future.
Absolutely. And I just want to encourage you, because I mean, these webinars in and of themselves are filled with so much knowledge that if you're starting a business, if you're running a business, this information is something that you're absolutely going to need. So please do continue to check out the website. Our website is wealthbuilders.org/Africa. And you can catch up with previous webinars as well. You can also get more information about upcoming webinars, and most importantly, the conference, our first Wealth Builders Africa conference that's coming up in June.
Great. And I'll add to that, as far as apart from capacity building, there's a lot of elements to that that I've definitely learned from Billy and Becky. And part of it is like, I don't know what I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So one of the things that I think we're here to help you with is to give you that insight, or help you to think at a level that maybe you haven't thought of before. And so when I know when I started listening to Billy and Becky at Wealth Builders, I had a very limited understanding. A lot of it was because I was just looking at myself as like, what can Karen Conrad do, right? But what they really helped us to understand is that there is so much capacity in just tapping into understanding what can we do with God in on it too, right? So a lot of it's just connecting with, wow, God is in this with me. He wants me to succeed. And when we get around people that maybe are where we want to go, it helps build our capacity, because I can't imagine, or I wasn't even thinking about all the good things that God might have for me, because I was basically limited from my past experience. So capacity building is in two ways. Well, it's in more than two ways, but definitely a way for us to tap into what God has for us that's going to help us to think bigger and more than what we can ask or think, is what the Word of God says. Things that we might have thought were impossible and never thought it was something for us. This is helping us to realize, like, wow, you know what? I can do this because I'm connected with God. And then the other one is capacity building, that is going to help you get where you want to go faster with the right systems and tools. So in business, when we work with businesses, and we work with many of them one-on-one, they're either stuck, or they don't know exactly. They know God's called them to do something, but they don't even know where to start. Well, when you put it in systems like this, it's kind of where you're being guided along the way. So you're able to tap into what God has for you, but you know the right places to put it into, so that when you actually launch and implement, you're able to do it quickly with success. And so I think that's a lot of the capacity building. Also, there's creative ways that you can build, like partnerships, joint ventures. Sometimes in our areas, we are very limited as to some of the resources that are available. I think that's one of the biggest problems that I hear from people is, I don't know how to get started. They don't have the resources for it. Well, there's ways for us to help you think about that you may not even be aware of. So those are just some examples, I think, as far as capacity building that you will experience with being in touch with Wealth Builders. All right. This next one is from Bruce. And Bruce says, how can we able to create how are we able to create project revenue and service revenue in NGO organizations based on development? Can you, if you guys could just comment on that, and I want to better understand that term NGO.
Yeah, so NGO is in Africa, non-profits. They call them non-NGO, non-governmental organizations. So I think he's talking about creating project revenue and service revenue for his non-profit entity, if I understood it correctly.
Okay, great. Well, there's a lot of things in here. Actually, last time my husband Dave was on, and he works a lot in Africa with leaders. And there, he actually helps ministries to find revenue streams outside of being dependent on donors. And I was on a call yesterday with our CPA, which is an accountant, and she was sharing with us that one of the things she helped with is, and just like worked with people on, and it was in Africa, in Zimbabwe actually, is that they brought over some technology to bring irrigation to the community, to access water, and how to bring agriculture in where they weren't dependent on rain, but they were actually able to irrigate or water the produce to support their organization, and actually ended up supporting a lot of the community. So that is an example. There's a lot of different ways too, but that is one example of how you might look at something to create revenue that will bring, you're selling sweet potatoes and selling amazing squash, right? That comes back to support your organization. I know another one too, there is one of Dave's really good friends. His name is Andrew. He is in Africa. He's got a ministry, an organization where he wants to help teach and train young men in the area of building things and building furniture. And so he has an entire warehouse in things that he builds furniture for people. They build tables, they build dressers, they take orders from people, and he is able to accomplish the vision and mission of his ministry through producing furniture. And in that, it not only attains his vision and mission for helping young men, but it helps to fund their ministry. So it's endless, but sometimes it's helpful just to have a couple examples of what this might look like. And that's where going through this process that we talked about on the BMGC is really helpful, because you start to narrow in on what your purpose is. What do we bring? What value do we bring? Or maybe I don't feel like I'm bringing value. So how can we begin to bring value? And it kind of goes from there. All right. Another question here is George says, thank you for that question, Bruce, by the way. George says, I really need more details about revenue streams. I feel that part is really important to me. I need more clarification. For instance, a business producing product like oil and cosmetics products, what do you think will be their revenue streams, and where does it fall under revenue streams? So again, Pastor Tafara and Chippo, I'll give that to you to maybe give your thoughts, and then I'll add my thoughts to it.
Sure. Sorry, we just want to have a look at the question again. So he wants more clarity about revenue streams. I feel that part is really important to me. I need more clarification. For instance, a business producing products like oil.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think you brought up transactions as well when you talked about the handbags. And so I believe this falls into that category of transactions where someone will walk into your retail store, if you're actually retailing, or you are wholesaling and supplying, the retailers. It's based on transactions, the way I see it. So I think the revenue streams is going to be based on transactions there.
That's really good. And in applying even like so we say, okay, let's challenge ourselves to find a recurring revenue, right? Because we were talking about the 4 kinds of revenue. And so, yeah, it is transaction based because it's a product people come in and buy for sure. But if we say, okay, how can we make it recurring? So I'll just throw out an idea. you know what? We could make it recurring by telling people to sign up on a monthly basis, and we will automatically send them the product, right? So then they don't have to come into my store to get it, but I could just have it delivered to them based on a monthly subscription. So there's an idea here that in the US that I actually subscribe to, which is why I know about it, that might fall in here, and it's called Ipsy. Okay. Well, Ipsy, you pay this certain amount per month, and I get to go in and I get to choose. There's like 6 products, and this is a cosmetic products. There's 6 products you get to get per month. They choose 3 of them. Okay. So basically it's whatever it is that you've got maybe extra in your store. And then I get to choose 3 of them. And it's like this surprise bag that shows up every month for a subscription amount that produces recurring revenue for Ipsy, which is a different way of delivering that. So for people that maybe can't get into the store, or maybe people that they like the excitement of having something show up that they didn't know, that would help you to leverage revenue. So that would be a recurring revenue. Another way would be looking at more customer segments. So if I'm doing oil and cosmetics and you come into my store to buy, and then maybe I create this fun thing people can sign up with or online that shows up at their door, subscription base. Also, if I'm in a certain market, let's say my store is in Johannesburg, in a certain area of town, I'm actually not able to reach, my product isn't really visible for people outside of the area that I'm planted, right? So is there an opportunity to have distributorship with other stores that could start carrying my product? So maybe I've got my product of oils and cosmetics that you come to my store, but maybe you do like what Starbucks does, and you have a place where maybe you take that product and you put it into another store that's existing, and you've got a section for your cosmetics. You see that? So it's sort of like building blocks. Once you have the core of what your product and service is, we are like, it's fun. This is so fun. Like, oh my gosh, how else can we get this out there? So we just talked about 3 revenue streams in just a moment off the top of our head for your type of business. And I know there's more there, but it's a way of thinking. So I'm hoping that's helpful. Good. All right, you guys. Well, our time is up, and I just really want to thank everybody for being a part of this webinar. And you'll be getting this information in your email. You can watch it again, share it with people. But I believe these will be really great seeds that will help you to either start your business or to grow your business. So I'll be tossing it back over to you, Pastor Tafari and Chipo.
Oh man, thank you so much. Thank you, Karen. This has been so much fun.
This is really awesome.
And
George actually said, "Wow, great! Thanks so much for the clarification." So thank you very much for answering that question.
Awesome. And so just a reminder, guys, we will send you an email with a copy of this webinar video, and you also receive the presentation, the slides, and look into it, listen to it again, and get some of the information that you may have missed. And also, please be on the lookout for our next webinar. So please visit our website, wealthbuilders.org/Africa, for more information. And also,
Wealth Builders Conference.
Wealth
in
Builders
Denver.
Conference coming up next month in Denver. If you're not able to travel, you can watch live on Zoom, right?
Yep.
You can register for that and watch live. And lastly,
And what's so cool is that if you go to the website, wealthbuilders.org, you'll be able to have a look at previous Wealth Builders Conference as well, and the content there as well, when you register for this year's conference.
And lastly, we will be sending you an email with the dates for our next webinar. And so please be on the lookout for that. And if you don't get this email, Wealth Builders in your primary inbox, you can actually move the folder so that it's in your primary inbox and it's not marked as spam. And so please do so, and be on the lookout. We look forward to hanging out with you again next month.
Absolutely.
God bless you and have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.